As the wife of an archaeologist, I have been taken, albeit very willingly, on an awful lot of field trips over the years. But even I was impressed when, on a 1998 visit to Galway, John kindly offered to take me to the other world. Off we went to Rathcrowan, and I duly slithered into the mud of Owen Agat. I'd gotten no further than the Ogham Stone at the entrance when I was overcome by an unexpected and odd sense of foreboding. And though others, including Professor Driscoll, heroically pressed ahead with torches, I found myself surprisingly unwilling to proceed beyond the threshold. In my defence, I was quite pregnant at the time, and I perhaps felt an enhanced sense of responsibility to protect our unborn child from whatever malign forces might lurk in the deep darkness beyond. I was struck at the time by how spooky the cave, that's not a technical term, but how spooky the cave seemed even to a 20th century Presbyterian rationalist. And I found it hard to imagine how utterly terrifying it must have seemed to those who went down there in the Iron Age or the early medieval period, fully expecting to have to face a three-headed devil cats of hell. Thinking about it again this weekend, I feel that my lack of resolve on the brink of the other world compares very unfavourably with Professor Waddell's supreme courageousness in venturing into the violent, sexualised, drink-soaked world of Celtic mythology. He has faced immense danger on our behalf in order to bring together two very different bodies of data, the physical remains of Irish and indeed British and continental prehistoric archaeology, and the textual products of medieval Irish literature. In a sense, these two could not be more unalike in nature and in the way that they have been approached. Yet time and time again, Professor Waddell has shown the striking correspondences, both of detail and of deep structure. And centres as all collectively on a voyage to explore the reasons and implications of these correspondences. It strikes me that one of the possible explanations of this is that both bodies are united by an acute sense of place. Among all the literatures of Europe, Irish literature is truly exceptional in the strength of its preoccupation with highly specific named places and the visible physical remains there. Time and time again, stories seem to provide no other justification than to provide an explanation for the physical remains to be seen at named places. I think that medieval Irish writers, in their obsessive desire to explain the relics of a distant past, prove themselves to be true archaeologists. The archaeology in the much later texts are connected through place, and Professor Waddell has shown how we can approach this complex and not fully understood connection from two directions. From the prehistoric archaeology looking forward, I think medieval literature can provide insight into fundamentals of cosmography, as Professor Waddell has shown, an otherworld which is threatening, inverted, subterranean, a landscape which is feminized, sacralized, and repeatedly and cumulatively manipulated, kingship which is equine, solar, rule-breaking, and semi-shod. From the other end of the telescope, while I do believe that, say, 10th century texts are first and foremost a window on the 10th century, archaeology shows us that many aspects of a 10th century worldview are deeply rooted in an inherited past. And even if the texts are not so much mirrors of belief as, to take the phrase from your last lecture, halls of mirrors of belief, which I like very much. Yes, sorry, I put the emphasis on that. Even if they are not mirrors, but halls of mirrors. Throughout, John has been sensitive to the interpretive difficulties of each body of evidence, and this is very important. He's shown the respect he has demonstrated the respect we must show for the technicalities of one another's material. But conversely, he's shown the absolute imperative to think outside the box. And I'm never going to be able to use that phrase again without thinking of those poor devils from Assy-Romance cooped up in their little wooden boxes. So let us reach out our limbs and provide a helping or a steadying hand across these interdisciplinary divides, because John has shown just how much is to be gained from the effort. Now, in stipulating a minimum of 6 lectures and compressing them into a single weekend, the Society has created a unique, on the plus side, a unique opportunity to engage with a topic in a very sustained way. On the negative side, it does present a considerable challenge, not only to the lecturer, and it is indeed a challenge, but also to you, the audience. And I think you'll agree that Professor Waddell's skill at synthesizing for us a truly immense and immensely diverse body of evidence, and constructing a series of lucid and compelling lectures that have been so easy to follow. My notes are about the best set of notes I've taken for a long time, but also for delivering them in such a seemingly effortless style, has turned what could so easily have been a grueling marathon into a most delightful stroll through a land of wonders. In his opening remarks, Professor Waddell remarked on the pivotal influence on him of reading Stuart Piggott's book, Ancient Europe, which is based on Rhind lectures. And all of us here, I'm sure, share similar experiences of other books based on the Rhinds, which have had or continue to have great influence. And from a purely personal perspective, I think of Richard Bradley's Altering the Earth, which has been mentioned further back in time, Douglas Simpson's The Province of Mar, which I still use, W.J. Watson, Celtic Place Names of Scotland, which is still the Place Names Bible, and indeed Joseph Anderson's Early Christian Monuments of Scotland. And I think we can safely assume that this book will very shortly be joining this august list. And the fact that all the copies on the bookstall had been sold out before we'd even got halfway through the lectures is testament to that. Now, I'm not going to prolong these remarks because there are trains to be caught, and as I understand it, the second half of an important Irish rugby match to be watched. Professor Waddell, you have presented us with a superabundant feast of ideas, worthy indeed of a lord of the other world, and you have our grateful thanks. And I call on all of you now to express these in the traditional way. Thank you, Professor Waddell.